Well, kia ora and welcome into the Harness Half Hour, proudly brought to you by HRNZ Marketing. I'm Jess Smith and our guests today are Frank Cooney, Graeme Henley of Alabar Stud, Brad Mowbray, Tim Williams and bookmaker Richard Wilson. And here are today's headlines. Legendary harness driver Maurice McKendry showed why he's still one of the best in the business, driving 6 winners on the card at Alexandra Park last Friday night. Included in his winning haul was the Holmes DG winner Elope, who has returned to New Zealand at age 10 to take out the feature. We talk soon to his co-trainer Frank Cooney. Former Len Smith Mile winner Cruise Bromac launched himself into New Zealand Cup contention with an emphatic win in the Methven Cup on Sunday. Driven by co-trainer Natalie Rasmussen, Cruise Bromac flew by the opposition in a fresh state over 3,000 metres to win. And Tiger Tara has put his hand firmly up for another tilt at the New Zealand Cup by dominating in the Victoria Cup on Saturday night. It was a remarkable comeback given the horse and his trainer had been involved in a car accident in transit only a month ago. Tiger Tara finished third in the Cup last year and appears even stronger this time in. It was one of the feel-good stories over the weekend, and the Holmes DG going to Elope, and a remarkable backstory too, given that the horse had headed to Australia for a career and returned to our shores. And co-trainer Frank Cooney is with me on the show. Frank, congratulations, and what kind of emotions went through you on Friday?
Jess, a little bit hard to describe really, because I thought it was a great effort from the horse, and you know, he basically came home to retire, and we thought we might give him a race or two and let him tell us whether he wants to finish racing and that. But no, I was very, very, very proud of the horse, and yeah, I thought it was a great effort from him. Really, he's been tripped around, as you say, to Australia and raced quite a bit over there, and then come back, and yeah, to win a decent race like the Holmes DG, well, yeah, no, icing on the cake.
And so fitting too, given the night that Maurice McKendry had.
Yeah, well, Maurice had a great night. Like, I mean, look, you know, this talk about, you know, drivers that get too old or that, well, I think he silenced that argument, and well and truly, and yeah, he's still one of the greatest we've had, I think.
And reflecting back on Elope, Frank, as you mentioned, he headed to Australia. I think he picked up a Tasmania Cup over there. But can you tell us initially why the horse headed over to Australia, and why you decided to bring him back to New Zealand?
Well, the initial move to send him over there was probably lack of opportunities here, particularly in the North Island. We just don't have the numbers or the depth in the upper bracket of the horses racing. So it was decided that he might be better over there, might be easier on him and easier for the owners as well, in terms of you know, getting a financial return. So and look, he's raced very good over there. I think he's just going from memory here, but I think he's won 160 odd thousand while he was over there, and the decision was he was dropping back in class over there and probably just going okay. So we thought we'd just get him home, and well, it was the owner's decision to get him home, and like I say, let him enjoy retirement. You know, if that's what he wanted. But he's come back. He's full of life, and yeah, he enjoys being around the stables, enjoys doing his work, and yeah, it's like he's never ever left the place. He feels just as good, if not better, than what he did when he left as I think he's a 5 or 6 year old when he left. So yeah, no, he feels just as good now as what he did then. So yeah, it's great to have him back.
And what were the owners' emotions like on Friday? As you say, bringing the horse back as a retirement option, I guess they'd never be expecting to win the Holmes DG.
No. Look, to be honest, like the Outtrams, Warren and Delwyn, they were the main instigators to get him back, and look, yeah, they were just over the moon about it. Warren actually made the comment that he thinks that the win on Friday night was just as good, if not better, than winning the Sire Stakes final as a 2-year-old. So, you know, look, they were just over the moon, and I was actually wrapped for them as well. You know, they put their faith in the horse to bring him back and look after him, and he's returned the favour. So, no, fantastic.
It's remarkable, as you mentioned, the Sire Stakes final he won as a 2-year-old, and to still be competing at the highest level as a 10-year-old just shows, you know, what a great constitution the horse has.
Yeah, well, he's always been an athletic wee horse. He's always enjoyed his work. He's not one of those ones to shirk. If anything, you know, he's great mannered, but he can light up a bit when he wants to be. He's got his own character, and like I say, he still enjoys his work. He's just as willing now as what he was when he was a 2-year-old. So it's like good to have him around, and I think he enjoys being back home.
I would imagine so, the way he's been racing at the top level. And Frank, going forward, has there been any small thought crossing the mind around a New Zealand Cup, or do you have any plans for him?
Look, we nominated him for the New Zealand Cup, Jess, but we just decided actually last week to pull him out. The thought was that, he basically came home for us to look after him and do the right thing by him, and he doesn't. We thought he didn't really need Trek and South, even though, you know, he probably deserved a shot at it. But you know, he is 10 years old, and there's plenty in our own backyard up here for him. So we just the owners made the decision to keep him at home and just look after him, and maybe he might last a little bit longer.
Would you potentially look over the New Year period and racing through those carnivals?
Oh, absolutely. At this stage, yeah, absolutely. He'll just race up over the Christmas period here at Auckland, and Cambridge normally have the Flying Mile down there, so he'll probably go there as well. But we'll just play it by ear. He'll let us know whether he's still competitive, and if not, well, yeah, he'll just enjoy a good home paddock.
Well, it's a remarkable story, Frank. Well done to you, Tate, and the team with Let's Elope. And I guess it gives people hope, really, doesn't it? That, they don't have to give up on a horse so soon. If you look after them, then they'll reward you. Oh, no, and that's right, Jess. I think as long as horses are looked after and managed properly, they don't all stay sound, but this guy has. But I think you've got to manage them and look after them, and if you do that, I think they'll return the favour. They'll last a bit longer and maybe stay competitive for a bit longer. So it's all about management, I think. Well, congratulations again to you and the team, Frank, and it's been an inspirational story, and I'm sure one of the highlights for many for the racing season. Yeah, well, it was quite amazing, the number of comments that we had on race night, and then I went to the trials on Saturday, and just different people were saying, how great it was, or great a story it was that horse he raced here as a young horse, and then, as you say, went to Australia, then come back and been competing successfully here, and it was quite, almost emotional for the owners, and that the people were coming up to them and saying, how great a story it was, and good on them for doing the exercise. So, that was a pleasing thing, I think. Time now to check out social media news headlines, and starting off with New Zealand. On our Facebook page, Ross Wilson trains his 100th winner. Congratulations, Ross. You'll see the video there on the HRNZ Facebook page. We also start our road to the Cup with an interview with Ricky May, reflecting on his New Zealand Cup haul as a driver. And keep an eye out for this week's Friday Flashback on our Facebook page, which features the Kennards. From Australia, the Victoria Cup, as mentioned, was taken emphatically by Tiger Tara. He's still on target for the New Zealand Cup. And Tornado Valley is also en route to New Zealand Cup week after his win in the Bill Collins Trotters Sprint on Saturday night. And the US and Canada, Mick Wicked won the Dan Rooney at Yonkers over the weekend. Unfortunately, Lazarus was scratched sick with a cough. His trainer Jimmy Tactor has indicated the horse will still head to the Breeders' Crown eliminations. They'll be held at Pocono Downs this coming weekend. What is that time of season, of course, breeding season, where breeders are anxiously awaiting the arrivals of their foals and also making crucial decisions around who they should be sending their mare to. And one of the men charged with Alabar's running and, of course, getting breeders to send their mares their way is Graeme Henley. And Graeme, how are things going for you and the team there at Alabar in this early stages of the season?
Yeah, pretty good. It's been a reasonably slow start to the season in terms of weather-wise. Like, the mares have been a little bit overdue foaling and the dry mares have been a little bit slow cycling, but we're well and truly into it now with some good weather recently, and it's ticking along well. And in terms of bookings, it's much the same as last year, which is a good thing, I think, in the current environment. And lots of nice foals coming out and some pregnancies popping up, which is always good.
One thing that always amazes me, Graeme, is the amount of man hours required around stud farms and the likes of Foal Watch. How many people have you got involved at the moment just keeping an eye on things?
We've got a reasonably lean operation. We've got 9 on the payroll, but this time of year you need 24-hour supervision of the mares foaling, and it's a tricky time of year really, because a lot of the mares are overdue to foal, and they kind of sneak up on you a wee bit. So it's a time of year where you can't just narrow it down to the next two or three mares to foal. They can sort of pop out from everywhere. So you've got to keep a really close eye on them, because it's kind of any one of sort of 20 to 25 mares on the property at the moment could be the next one to foal. So, and every mare's valuable in their own way. Some of them are really valuable in terms of money, but everyone's got an owner that loves them, so you've got to look after them.
I was just going to mention that, Graeme, because I know Alabar has a high-class reputation for communication, and that would be a big part of your operation, keeping people updated at this time of year.
Oh, absolutely. And, we've got to remind ourselves all the time that, most people that have horses are doing it with, discretionary money. They're not doing it because they have to, and you've got to give those people some enjoyment. And part of the enjoyment is, making sure they know that their horse is getting looked after, making sure that they're involved in everything that's happening, and we do try to keep them informed and send them photos and all that type of thing. But we just got to keep reminding ourselves that these people are in it for fun, so we've got to make sure it is fun for them.
Most certainly. And in the New Zealand chapter, you've got the likes of Majestic Sun. He's watching Sports Writer, and I guess it's an exciting time each season when you see the likes of new foals from Always Be Mickey and new stallions standing up.
Oh, absolutely, and that's it's one thing about the horse business, the stud business. There's plenty of things to be disappointed about, but there's always something new to look forward to. And this season, we've been really looking forward to the first Always Be Mickey foals, and they haven't let us down. Like, he's an amazing specimen of a horse himself. He's a really tall, thoroughbred horse. He's well over 16 hands, which is tall for a standard bred, and we're really intrigued to see his first foals, and they look great. Like they're tall, but they're athletically tall, and they're well conformed, and they for tall horses they get up and bounce around quickly. So that's really exciting. But it's something a little bit different, and I think he might be the right man for the right time, because some of the champion stallions we've had recently have sort of left your smaller, more compact type of horse. So a horse like Mickey coming along to provide a bit of leg and scope to some of those smaller type of commercial mares is like I say, the right thing at the right time, I think.
Oh, absolutely. And looking at that lineup you've got at Alabar across the board, you must be extremely thrilled with the award received by Majestic Sun recently.
Oh, absolutely. And he's a really cool stallion to have around the place. He's a really chilled out guy that just stands in the middle of the paddock and grazes, and he's really good. And he's just one of those horses that he's easy to take for granted. He's done some wonderful things, and the records he's beating are the records that were set by Sundawn, and Sundawn was an amazing game-changing horse. And with all due respect to Sundawn, when he was setting his records, he wasn't having to compete against Love Yous and Muscle Hills and that type of thing. So the fact that Majestic Sun can break Sundawn's record for money won and individual winners and those types of things, I think is incredible, because the quality of our trotters has improved out of sight in the last few years, thanks to the horses like Love You and Muscle Hill and Muscle Mass and those types of ones. So the fact that Majestic Sun can dominate those guys in terms of winners is a big thrill, and we're really pleased to be part of him. And he's got a wonderful group of owners who raced him, and they just love the horse. And so long as the horse is happy, they're happy. So it's really good. And he's still quite a young horse, Majestic Sun. So hopefully he's got a long career ahead of him.
Oh, most certainly. And Graeme, are you surprised, or what reaction have you had to the amount of the uprising, really, of breeding trotters? Because it seems like, it's really become in vogue, and a lot of people are now turning their hand to breeding the square gaiters.
Oh, absolutely, and it's a good thing, and it probably brings us more into line internationally. Like obviously with Europe, there's trotters are completely dominant there, and in North America, at the elite level of the game, it's the trotters that tend to have the biggest profile a lot of the time. So it probably does bring us into line with that, but it's a sign of there's more trotting races on a race card here quite often, and with the quality of trotting mares we've got now and the quality of trotting stallions we got, and people like Ken and Karen Brecken, who put a lot of emphasis into the trotters, and Trevor Casey and Pat Driscoll in Australia, and all those guys. They've really improved the game, and it's great to see. Like our trotters were miles behind the trotters in Europe and North America previously. I think now that we're breeding to these types of mares we've got and the types of stallions we got, and we're catching up very quickly, and it's quite exciting, and it's a good thing going forward.
We talked about the anticipation and expectation when you have a horse like Mickey standing with you in the first foal's about to land or on the ground now. Graeme, what kind of work is involved? I'd imagine would start years in advance in terms of securing a stallion from North America. Are you keeping an eye on the juvenile races up there and just starting to look a year or two ahead?
Absolutely. And getting stallions is sort of multifaceted, really, and there's a fair whack of luck involved in it as well, and a heck of a lot of money. But a lot of it's just doing your homework, and not only with the horses, but also with the owners, and establishing relationships with these guys. And one thing about North America is there's not many horses owned by individuals. A lot of the good horses are owned by multiple partnerships. A lot of the American studs buy into their good horses quite early in their careers. So it's vital to have good relationships with the big players in North America, because there's not many horses that don't have people in the ownership that have already involved in another stallion that's down here or something. So if you've done a bad job for those guys, you're not going to get the next horse. But it is incredibly hard to pick the right stallion. We've got it wrong a few times. Like to think we've got it right a few times. In terms of what's up there at the moment, it's really hard to know which way to go. The free-for-all horses, there's not much there in terms of what you'd look for a future stallion. Obviously, the fact that Always Be Mickey is retired out of it, he was the obvious one of his generation, as it were. It's hard to tell which is the next one, or even where to go. Maybe it's a son of Captain Treacherous is the next horse. It really is just hard to know. Like we'd love to think given the quality of horses we got down here now, we could have more of our own stallions, and that's one of the reasons why we bought Vincent along with Neville was because he's as good as anything up there. Like Lazarus has shown that. Like our best horses are as good as their best horses now. So Mark Purdon would tell you Lazarus and Vincent were of a similar quality. So we've sort of extended that to believe that Vincent's as good as anything we possibly could have got in North America. So we just got to give him his chance.
Yeah, you must be absolutely thrilled with the response you've had to Vincent, being an Australasian bred and filling a book so quickly.
Oh, absolutely, and it's amazing. Like we were pretty confident about Vincent. We weren't quite sure how he'd be received. Like we rang around a few breeders, and most people thought they would support him to some degree. But he just, he's a horse that had a lot of respect, and I think one thing that made a big difference was when Mark Purdon was very open about the way he spoke about Vincent, about how good a horse he thought he was, and Jean Feast coming out and saying what she thought of Vincent, and the fact that her and her husband Bill would be looking at buying Vincent's at the yearling sales was a big fillip for the horse. So we just got to give these guys guys a chance and hopefully stand up. But you look at Vincent and you think, crikey Dick, if he can leave foals like himself, there'd be a lot of happy breeders out there, because he's just a beautiful horse with a lovely temperament.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, great to see they're down under bred, breeders starting to take them seriously. And just finally, Graeme, because I know you're a busy man and you'll have plenty of wheeling and dealing to get back to today, but Chase Auckland, of course, you'd be extremely proud that he's by a Colonial Stallion and Auckland Reactor. And has there been any update in terms of his preparation?
He's back at work now with Mark and Natalie. He's been back there 2 weeks now, I think it is. But he had a setback. He came back into work on the 10th or 11th of June, and a couple of weeks after he was in work, he got injured in the paddock. He either pulled a muscle or he was kicked, one or the other, but either or, he just ended up with a sore muscle in his rump, and it just took quite a long time to settle. And so they ended up sending him to Stephen Boyd's to go on the Water Walker, and that sort of got him back on kilter again. And he's been back now, and he's really developed into a big, strong horse now. And we're really looking forward to his season. Like, I'm not quite sure where he'll kick off, but I don't think he'll be race fitness till well into December. But with a 4-year-old, there's a lot of great opportunities for them after Christmas. So we're a little bit disappointed he won't be racing at the New Zealand Cup Carnival, because his syndicate that own him would have loved to have seen him there. But I'm sure we've had a wonderful time with him, and we're privileged to have done that. But I'm sure we've got a lot of wonderful times ahead of us as well. So an 8-week setback's in the big picture is not going to be a big deal for him.
Oh, absolutely not. And congratulations on the award too with Chase Auckland at the recent National Awards. And I spoke to Ivan at the ceremony, and just reiterating how wonderful it is to be able to involve people of all walks of life in their ownership.
Oh, exactly. And it's been great. Obviously, because we got Chase Auckland, it makes it so much better. But, they're just really nice people that want to have a good time, and I'm thrilled for them that they are having a good time. And Ivan and his wife Anne do a wonderful job looking after the syndicate. It's more than a syndicate, really, because of the way Ivan and Anne have managed it. Like, they're all friends, and that's the kind of level it's on. And it's obviously easier when you're winning, but Ivan and Anne have done a wonderful job of sort of creating this family atmosphere amongst it all, and it's really quite cool. And hopefully, if we can go forward with Chase, they'll have some wonderful trips together, and a lot of those people involved in the horse, there'll be trips of a lifetime to go watch the horse race at Melton or Menangle or wherever he ends up. They'll thrive on it. And they're even one of the other horses in the syndicate was going to be racing at Invercargill, and a whole bunch of them were booking tickets to go to Invercargill to watch the horse race. So it's great that they get that excitement out of it. So I sincerely hope they have a lot of fun in the future. And in the emails Ivan gets back from these people that it's this was a thrill of a lifetime, and this is something I'll remember forever, and all this kind of thing. You never sort of can take that type of thing for granted, but it does make it pretty cool.
Well, it certainly does, and it has far-reaching positive pluses, as you mentioned, with people going to the tracks and supporting some of the smaller tracks as well. But Graeme, thank you very much for your time, and also thank you to Alabar for the support putting back sponsorship of the Methven Cup, and Kaikoura coming up very soon. You'll be excited about heading back to South Bay?
Oh yeah, no, it's always a great day, and I tell people, if you're ever feeling a wee bit flat about the industry, go to Kaikoura, because it'll energise you for the next 12 months. It's a wonderful day, but we'll be having an intimate dinner for 300 there with our clients in the marquee, so it's always a fun day.
Well, thank you very much for your time, and good luck for another successful breeding season, Graeme.
Okay, cheers. Thanks, cheers.
Time now to profile one of the promising Canterbury trainers in the region, and Brad Mowbray. And Brad, first of all, we've got to congratulate you on last season, 21 wins as a trainer, equalling your best ever.
That's right, yeah. We had 2 in Australia, so we actually had 23.
Well, that's even better. And heading to Australia, was that a first time for you as a trainer?
No, we took Pemberton Shard over for the Ladyship Mile maybe 3 years before that. She was in the one we were doing, we won 47-7, so we learned a bit about it that day, but we went back bigger and stronger this year.
Fantastic. And what were some of the major differences, if any, that you noticed between the two countries?
Mostly at that time of year, it's just the weather. The weather and bugs and sort of different bits and pieces that are floating around that they get hot enough for over here that we don't usually have to worry about.
Yeah, I'd imagine so. And in terms of your career, Brad, just wanted to go back to where it all began. What was your first introduction to harness racing?
Well, I've got an uncle that trains a few in the North Island called Dave McGowan, so he came down here a couple of cup times and things like that, so it sort of stemmed from going out and seeing him and giving him a hand and sort of just grew from there. Was it something that you were always drawn to? No, not at all. I had no idea until I left school that it hardly even existed. So it was more that just sort of come across it more than any other reason. Okay, and when you decided to branch out into harness racing as a career, was there anyone in particular alongside Dave that gave you advice or gave you a hand up? Probably Jeff Small. I owe a lot to him, really. He's a very good horseman, Jeff, and he gave us plenty of opportunities. I worked there for, I think, 5 years, and as a travelling foreman, we got to take, really good horses all over Australasia, really. So that was the real catalyst for sort of getting the bug really sort of setting in, Yeah, and in Jeff's team, what were some of the horses that you were really close to that you got to learn a lot from? Whenever we change over, when he won, so winning the Cup was a real big highlight for us. Win for you, I took him to Melbourne and Sydney and Adelaide and Tintin in America, Laura Ella, Lovely, had an endless list at that time, so there's plenty to choose from. And it must be really nice now, Brad, to be able to sit back and watch the progeny of Tintin and Changeover doing so well. That's right, for sure. And we've got our share at our barn, and none of them look like their fathers, but they all seem to be able to run. But it's nice, and even some of those mares like Lovely's doing a good job, and Laura Ella's stocker, running around. So it's all it is real interesting to just keep an eye on them. Fantastic. And at the moment, Brad, whereabouts are you based and how many horses have you got in work? We're based at Russley at what used to be Mark Purden's place on the corner of Russley and Yoldhurst Roads. And we've got about 20 here at the moment. We've got a mixture of older ones and younger ones and a bit of everything, really. Brilliant. And going forward, firstly, we'll ask, highlights-wise, as a trainer, has there been anything that's really stood up in these early stages of your training career as a highlight? Not as much as I'd want. I looked up the other day. We've had about 9 Group 1 placings, but haven't had to knock one off. But we've got close a couple of times. Delishka's running second in the ladyship was obviously a big highlight, and her winning those 3 cups during the start of January down south for Cromwell, Roxburgh and Omakau. That was probably as good a highlight as we've had. Yeah, and as you mentioned, Group 1 placing. So does it give you hunger, Brad, to take that next step forward? Is it something that's kind of hanging over you, or do you try not to think about it too much? We try not to think about it. Like we're probably pretty gifted. There's probably plenty that would give their right arm to have that many placings. But we always want to knock one off. That's our main goal in sort of the not too distant future, hopefully. Oh, brilliant! And speaking of the not too distant future, are there any horses in the team that you're really finding promising or excited about their future? Like Kingmaker's probably the closest one to it. He had a checkered run the Sire Stakes heat last week, and we've turned him out for a month, but he'll be a pretty smart horse in the new year. And we've got plenty of babies that we're just sort of working up now that we're quite excited about. We've got about a dozen or 15 of them. So, the future's looking pretty bright, really. Fantastic. And I know that you and Mel are constantly looking for new owners, and there are always opportunities. So are you happy for anyone to give you a call, maybe if they're looking to get involved? Absolutely. We're always on the lookout for sort of a good horse that we can sort of split up into shares and get people to the races sort of sharpish. So, definitely give us a ring anytime. Well, Brad, congratulations on your, record-setting season last year, and I'm sure many more wins to come. Congratulations. Thanks very much, Jess. Well, currently at this stage of the season, we've got a dead heat for first in the Drivers' Premiership between Tim Williams and Matthew Williamson. Tim, did you dream at this stage of the season you'd be at least tied for first? No, definitely not. I think this time last year I hadn't driven a winner, so a long way ahead of where we were last year.
Fantastic. And of course, we've got to mention the feature double you had recently at Addington, picking up the Canterbury Park Trotting Cup and the Canterbury Classic on the same night.
Yeah, that was a huge thrill. Obviously, really lucky with the quality of drives I've had lately. It certainly makes a massive difference. You get to sit behind some lovely horses.
And driving the likes of Herod and Mott must obviously make it even more special, given the connection with Amy there.
Yeah, definitely. It's saved me cooking a few meals this last week, so it's really taken the pressure off at home.
What kind of a mare is she to drive? Are you holding your breath the whole way around?
No, look, this season she's been really good. She's all of her trials have sort of been the way she's been racing too, which has been really solid, and she's never looked like letting us down thus far, touch wood. So you've got to give credit to Craig and Amy. They've done a great job, and the likes of Johnny out there, the way they're working together, it's credit to them, the way the horse is racing this season.
Fantastic. And looking ahead, are you hoping to stick with her through the main trotting races?
Yeah, look, at this stage, obviously only keeping the seat warm for when John gets back in, but I think at this stage they're looking at Ashburton, so the way she's been racing, you'd say she's going to be a great chance when she lines up again.
Brilliant. And of course on the same night, Dream About Me winning the Canterbury Classic. You've had a really long association with this mare.
Yeah, look, I've been really lucky. Obviously, when I first started here, she was probably one of the first ones I sort of got to sit behind race day, and obviously she's progressed a fair way since then. And it's nice to come back and win those sort of races like the other night.
And from a 2-year-old, you had her, of course, success in the Jewels with her as a 2-year-old. Obviously, she's got older, but how has she progressed as a racehorse over the last few years, Tim?
Oh, a lot. She's grown now. Obviously, you see the size of her. She's a very big girl, and each year she's just got stronger and bigger. And at the moment, the racing's really standing her in good stead. She's obviously still got a little bit of weight to lose before the Cup, but each run she's progressing very nicely.
And how are you feeling, Tim, leading into the New Zealand Cup this year? Would it obviously be a dream to win a race like that, but do you feel confident being partnered with her?
Oh, I think you've got to have a little bit of confidence, especially the build-up she's had. Like you say, credit to Mark and Natalie, the way they've got her back to the track. Obviously, she had her issues towards the end of last season, then she had a pretty lengthy spell. So, look, at the moment, touch wood, she hasn't had any issues, and the lead-up's been really good. And each time we ask her, she sort of keeps stepping up. So, as long as she can do that again at Ashburton next start, leading into the Cup, I'm sure she'll be spot on for the day.
And speaking of Mark and Natalie, of course you're employed at All Stars there, and I don't think a lot of people realise, Tim, the amount of manpower and the meticulous organisation that's involved at that team there.
Oh, definitely. It's a lot goes on behind the scenes. It's it must be a mathematical nightmare for them when they go home and work out who's going where and whatnot. But they do a great job, and the results speak for themselves.
And going forward, Tim, as a driver, have you got any goals, or long term would you like to pick up training yourself in future?
I probably wasn't one massive for goals, but I thought this year I've sort of been doing a lot more outside driving, which has been great, and obviously had the support from Mark and Natalie to do a lot more travelling this year. So I sort of thought 50 wins might have been within reach this year. It's something I haven't probably got that close to before. So the way things are going at the moment, it's looking like a realistic target. So we'll just keep chipping away towards it, and hopefully come into July with somewhere near that number.
Fantastic. Well, 18 wins already, Tim Williams. Thank you so much for your time today, and all the best going forward, not only for the season overall, but especially leading into Cup Week.
No worries. Thanks very much.
Well, of course, at this stage of the podcast every week, we catch up with harness bookie Richard Wilson to go through the week that was. And Richard, starting off with last Thursday at Addington, a rare Thursday night there, and it was an interesting night by the look.
Yes, it was. There was a few hotties got home, but there was a number of upsets as well. So it was a reasonable night for us. The biggest go of the night was on the first starter, Ultimate Sniper. Of course, a brother to Ultimate Machete, so had a lot in his favour. He delivered well. There was $8,000 on him at $1.65. That was the biggest bet. But he opened up at $1.95 and closed at $1.50, Jess. So there was over $35,000 in total on him to win. So it wasn't a great result for us. There were other nice bets there. $2,000 on Hale Christian at $3.10. another 1,800 on Hale Christian at 290, and there was 5,000 on Better's Heart at 170, so they all got home. And there was plenty of punters getting a lot of money off Scarlet Banner too. No single large bet in the category sort of 2,000 or above, but a lot of nice $500, $200, $300 bets there at around the $3.80 price in race 5. Luckily for us, not everything went the punter's way though. Pro Surfer, he was heavily backed again in the last race. $7,000 on him at $1.65 and another $2,000 at $1.60, the largest bets there. And Winterval resuming their bets of $5,000 at both $1.80, and then $2,500 and $2,000 at $1.70. Galloped away, wasn't a bad run afterwards, but that early mistake was very costly for him.
Okay, and from Addington on Thursday to Friday night Auckland, of course, it was the night of Maury Mack.
Yeah, unbelievable, wasn't it? He only had 6 drives, luckily for the rest of the boys, 6 out of 6. So that was good. I had a special there, pick the number of wins, the exact number of wins for 3 drive, the top 3 in the Drivers' Challenge. And luckily there weren't too many that took up the $7 for Morris to drive 3 or more. That was, as it turned out, money for jam really, but there weren't too many willing to take the $7, so that was good. A couple of big movers got home there. Rory McIlroy was the biggest of them. $8.20 at Open Jess, got home at $4.60. Needless to say, that wasn't a great result for us. Eastern Bull, he was $3 into $2.50. There was $2,000 on at the $2.50. That was the largest, but there was a whole stack of bets on him. The best bet was on the night, however, $1,000 on Le Monde at $5.20 in the big trot, and he was right back into his best. 2,400 on Ash at $2.40 and 2,000 at $2.20, also pretty good in the other trot. And $1,000 on To Sir With Love to run the top 3 at $3.50. That one got home as well. And just like Addington the night before, there were some big bets that missed though. Benson Boys. Now that one is very interesting there. Heavily backed, $4,000 at 7, 2,000 at 6, and there was a heap of other money in behind him as well. Won a big race but came up just short against the very smart Chevron Supreme. So that was lucky for us. I think the liability on Benson Boys was well up over $50,000 there. So thankful to see the favourite get home there. And in the main race, $3,000 on Jack's Legend at $1.90 and $2,000 McGilligan Point at $5.80, and there was also $2,000 on Macy Maguire at $8. So they were the other ones that helped me out a bit.
Yeah, it did sound like a mixed bag for sure there, the feature night at Alexandra Park. And on Saturday at Gore, Ross Wilson picking up the ton. Yeah,
there was certainly no way were punters nervous about him being stuck on 99 for long. Bridesdale Robin, it absolutely bolted in Jess in race 3, and there was over $27,000 in the win book on her. So 260 she opened into 190. Terrible result for us, needless to say. The other one that punters got plenty off was Mr. Handleman, new stable there. Got plenty of punters home. $3,500 on at $2.30, probably the best bet there. Keeping us in the game though, a couple of big bets to miss. $6,000 on Majestic Man at $1.80, and there was also $5,000 on the Empress at $1.80. So another mixed bag there, really.
Absolutely, and well done again to Ross Wilson for 100 training wins. A job well done. And Sunday at Methven, well, we spoke last week, Richard, about Motukarara being a happy hunting ground for punters, but Methven not so this week.
No, it was a good hunting ground for me there on Sunday. A lot of strange results or unforeseen results, really, Jess. Very tough day for them. One they did latch onto, though, the main one that they latched onto, Port Allegra, $2.50 into $2.30. There was $3,500 and $3,000 bets on at the $2.30. Winning a nice race, but third was his lot. Ready for Bloom now, that was $3.70 out to $5.20, and a great result for us there. Punters piling into Christian Lady, $5.50 into $4.50, and also Turkish Trousers was 14 into 10. So we got plenty off that one. And then Albiento blew everyone out in race 7 at $56. Best backed in that race, Jess, Blazing Creek was $8.50 into $7.20, including $1,000 on at the $7.20. So that was another great result for us there. The big go in the Cup, Air Park Flyer, Jess, $37 into $10. Before the late scratching of AG's White Sox, there was a 20% deduction there, so he came into $8.50. That was going to be a terrible result for us, not quite as bad as Benson Boys, but it was getting up there, and he was by far our worst result in that race. Large bets in the Cup, $5,000 on Ultimate Machete to run the top 3 at $185, and there was $3,000 on Star Galleria at 3, and there was a late $1,000 on Air Park Flyer at $8.50 as well. Another $1,000 on Ultimate Machete to win at $4.50. And AG's White Sox, before he was scratched, there's plenty of money on him as well. So it'll be interesting to see follow up this week to see what's wrong with AG's White Sox.
Yeah, absolutely, and big performance by Cruise Bromac to win the Methven Cup as well. And speaking of Cruise Bromac, New Zealand Cup markets will be all over the show now after big races in New Zealand, but also the Victoria Cup, Richard.
Exactly, massive shake-ups there. Tiger Tara, very dominant in the Victoria Cup, 26 into 9 straight after the race. That wasn't enough, Jess. He's into $6, clear second favourite now. $3,000 on Tiger Tara to run the top 3 at $3.20. Plenty of multis coming in at the $9, $8 and $7 mark, sees him into 6. Chicago Bull had to sit parked, but a little bit disappointing, I thought. $6.50 out to 9. Cruise Bromac 26 into 9. That was pretty impressive. Methven Cup 3,000 metres, not far off the 3.2 of the Cup. So and first go. So yep, there'll be plenty of support coming for that one, I think. Ultimate Machete, a little bit of a drift, $4.50 out to $4.80. Star Galleria, $6.50 out to 7. Forgotten Highway win another big race, 35 into 18. AG's White Sox, not sure what's happening there, 12 out to 15. The Fixer, 15 out to 18, and quite a number of the roughies drifted as well.
All right, so that's the New Zealand Cup, of course, option 1961, 1962, and the Dominion, 1963, 1964. Big news last week with Monbay being withdrawn.
Yeah, unfortunately, Monbay withdrawn. Luckily for punters, though, they didn't really get involved with Monbay, so there's no damage to punters there. But some big moves, though. Woodstone was very impressive on Friday night, 51 right into 21. And Kai Valley Blur, there was some big bets on him before Friday night's racing at Melton Jess, 21 into 12. Tornado Valley win a big race in that race, was odds on and won well from the front. He's 26 into 15. Lamond back to his best at Auckland, 12 into 8. Harriet of Mott, slight drift there, 5 out to 6. And Muscles Galore, 12 out to 15. So the Dominion's looking pretty open as well, really. There's some more moves to come there yet, I think.
Absolutely, and an intriguing race for both the Cup and the Dominion in those futures lineups now with Australian interest. And Kaikoura Cup, well, it's one of the pinnacles of the social calendar racing-wise, and you've got to mark it out for that, Richard.
Yeah, it's the Flying Stakes next Monday is the next lead-up, and then after that the Kaikoura Cup. So we'll have final field for the Flying Stakes in the week, probably Tuesday, hopefully maybe Wednesday. But the Kaikoura Cup's open, 1977 and 1978. Eamon Maguire, the favourite there, opened at $6.50. There was $1,000 on at the $6.50, and not a lot of support for anything else. So he's into $4.50. An interesting race there, though. Just not too sure who's going to go there. It's they all could go there, or not very many of them could go there. So that's a tricky wee market for us there.
Okay, so that's option 1977-78 Kaikoura Cup. Don't forget tab.co.nz, the New Zealand free-for-all markets there also, along with the Inter-Dominion pacing and trotting. And each week, Richard, you find us a multi to follow, and it was a tough week for punters.
It certainly was, especially for multi-punters. I was really had to scrape and scratch to find a multi this week. Did find one, $100 multi on Sunday. Angelic Spirit at $3.60 to run the top 3 at Cranbourne Gallops. Into Sully, also that was in the Cranbourne Cup there at $2.70 to run the top 3. And then into Forgotten Highway in the Methven Cup, again top 3 at $2.10. The $100 returned $1,567.
Well, given the week that was, it's not a bad effort at all by that punter. Well done. And in terms of the week ahead, what are you looking forward to, Richard?
Yeah, we're definitely looking forward to the Flying Stakes on Monday. Before that, though, we've got Cambridge on Thursday, Addington Friday, and Tuapeka Cup Day on Sunday. That's always a great day.
Absolutely, and as you mentioned, Flying Stakes at Ashburton on Monday, given it's Labour weekend, but no long weekend for you and the team, I'd imagine?
No, just another week. It makes it a little bit longer, if anything.
Well, Richard, thank you very much for your time, and hopefully for punters' sake, things turn around next week, but probably not for your team.
Yeah, well, I won't be hoping that, but more of the same would be good by me.
And in what's coming up this week, starting off Thursday night, Cambridge harness racing action for the Waikato Bay of Plenty Club. Friday night, Addington kicks off the long weekend there, taking centre stage. Sunday, Tuapeka will race at Forbury Park. That's one not to be missed on the annual calendar. And Monday, of course, Labour Day, Ashburton will be the feature with the Flying Stakes and Flying Mile, the feature races on the card. Don't forget again, the two-day meeting at Kaikoura South Bay Racecourse is coming up this month, Sunday 28 and Monday 29 October. Make sure you book your accommodation quickly, and if you're needing horse accommodations, please don't hesitate to contact the club directly. They are only too happy to help with any inquiries you may have. And that's it for this week's Harness Half Hour. Thanks to HRNZ Marketing. The Harness Half Hour podcast is now available on the Punters Lounge, which is on tab.co.nz, also via Spotify and iTunes.